This is Flatiron Footsteps, a preview to the 17th running of the Boulder Boulder. Here's your host, Mark McIntosh.
It's a great day for a run, isn't it?
The TV business used to think it had zapping all figured out. Men zap twice as much as women. Young men zap twice as much as old men.
You can ride up these curved surfaces and...
The biggest do is wear a helmet.
It's enough to make you scream.
We're stuck in traffic again.
Be sure of that.
Green light for the guy ahead, then a red light for you, all the way down Leetsdale.
When you're going down the street and have to stop at every street light, it drives me crazy.
You and everyone else. So,
why don't they synchronize these lights?
Do you have questions?
Why don't they synchronize these lights?
News 4 has the answer.
we put the question to the guy in charge, Dennis Royer.
Our answer is they already are synchronized.
Try to tell that to these people.
Why don't they synchronize these street lights?
According to the city, the real problem is one of perception.
The easiest answer I can say to those people is it's a combination of the location of the signals, which doesn't give us perfect progression spacing.
In a 3.5-mile stretch along the Denver portion of Leetsdale, there are 12 stoplights. 46,000 people pass through here every day. In theory, you'd need 6 lanes for traffic.
In high volume periods, a traffic signal cannot make up for lack of capacity. Signal timing does not solve capacity problems, never will, never has.
And so it seems many will continue asking the question,
why don't they synchronize these street lights?
Thelma Gutierrez, News 4.
My name is Alex Echo. I'm an artist. I'm just a painter who wants to paint a pretty picture. My hope is, first of all, to accomplish a beautiful work of art. The dialogue is so important to me, the dialogue of people questioning what they're seeing, getting past the surface of their skin, of their ideas, getting past the surface down into the core that we are all the same. The whole reason is about the human story, the story underlying the surface of our skin, of our ideologies. It's about really the underlying essence of all of us. We're not different. We are all connected. We're all one. It's just, I believe, our thought and our ideas that separate us. So this is the closest medium I could think of to express that. I didn't sleep well last night. I had a couple dreams about painting with something so toxic. Well, today we're painting with HIV positive blood and negative blood. The blood is the absolute essence of our oneness. It's written about in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Torah, on and on and on. It's our absolute essence. And it's the single way I could represent the unity of mankind and separate the ideology. The bottom line, my envisionment is that it's going to be beautiful. Beautiful to look at, first of all. And then the conversation that will envelop, I hope, is just as dynamic. I picture a 4th grade field trip to a museum or an art gallery. And the students first going, ooh, it's blood. And then the second question will be, well, Mrs. Jones, which one is the woman? Which one's the man? Which one's the black man? Which one's the white man? Which one's the straight man, the gay man? The questions, it's all about questions. The risk actually leaves after a few minutes being exposed to the air. And I seal it in an acrylic resin, and it's sealed forever. You can actually come up and touch. It's just about the dialogue. It's about a beautiful picture first, and the dialogue of the human story that will come. That's the most important part. Well, this is the blood of two people, two individuals, and it's finished. For me, it's beautiful. For me, it's powerful.
With what many Native American people believe, that dramatic earth changes will lead to a rebirth for the planet and mankind. Summer Rain says she met No Eyes in 1984 on a desolate forest trail she had never traveled before.
I had chills go up me, and I looked up, and there was an old woman standing in the pines. I turned to leave, and then she called, "Summer Rain."
Soon after, she says, No Eyes revealed her message through a prayer ritual.
She would sprinkle 7 ingredients into the fire one by one, and soon images of her visions would begin to appear.
Images of a devastating California earthquake.
Number 5, A. That's the instructor for a course airlines require of all applicants looking for jobs as de-icers at DIA. The instructor is actually giving prospective de-icers the answers to every airline's test they are required to pass.
Number 1, true. Number 2 is true.
He is an instructor for Service Air, the largest de-icing company at DIA. After just a couple hours of teaching, the 500 applicants for de-icing jobs are given tests for the 22 airlines Service Air de-ices at DIA. These $13 an hour jobs are considered a critical link in wintertime safety at DIA, as these de-icers make sure planes are ice-free in the final minutes before takeoff.
Any questions?
One question: how qualified are they? The airline tests are supposed to determine who has learned the complexities of de-icing and is ready for the job. But there's no chance of failing with these tests. For every airline's test, Service Air trainers immediately provided every answer.
Okay, so number 1 is C. Number 2 is C. Number 3 is A. Number 4 is C.
That's right, Service Air trainers made sure every applicant could pass every exam and become a de-icer, no matter how little they understood about de-icing.
So the first one is going to be ice pellets, comma, hail, H-A-I-L, comma. Next one is moderate freezing rain, comma.
Is what they're doing in that classroom okay?
Based on what we saw, the answer is no.
We showed what we found to Frontier Airlines executives, one of the airlines Service Air de-ices for, an airline that thought de-icers had earned their perfect scores.
Our expectation would be that trainees would receive appropriate classroom training followed by legitimate exams. That's not what I observed on the videotape. Just receiving the answers doesn't demonstrate that you've actually grabbed the material.
It looks like they're trying to deceive the airlines.
I agree with that.
And airlines cannot accept that. 28 people died after a Continental flight crashed on takeoff from Denver in 1987. 5 years earlier, a flight in Washington crashed seconds after takeoff, killing 78. Inadequate de-icing was partly to blame in both crashes. The National Transportation Safety Board says that since 1993, 135 planes have crashed due to ice, 171 people have died. The FAA says ground de-icing programs are critical. A program failure can be catastrophic.
100%? Sweet!
But for many tests, Service Air teachers just handed out answer sheets telling prospective de-icers which answers to mark.
What I want you to circle is A, Alpha, B, Bravo, and D, Delta.
Applicants didn't even know what airline's test they were taking or what questions they were answering. The trainers explain this is the most efficient way to do things.
All of them are almost exactly the same. We've gone over a lot of the differences through the class. Okay, so I hope you understand that. If not, you're going to be here till about 9 o'clock.
And Continental Airlines might be concerned about this. On Continental's test, the trainers had students intentionally make mistakes.
Okay, cross that one out. It's really A. So you missed one, you got a 98.
The trainers indicate Continental checks these tests carefully and might become suspicious if everyone got a perfect score.
Didn't show 100% on this. This is real quick. Now we correct it.
And we weren't the only ones who noticed this unusual testing regimen.
It's kind of hard to fail, isn't it?
Yeah, you really couldn't fail.
This man, who was in a different de-icing class than our employee, applied with Service Air to be a de-icer this winter. He asked we conceal his identity, but he confirmed what our undercover investigation found, saying his training consisted of 2 hours of classroom learning, followed by the same kind of testing.
I was quite appalled, personally. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
But he said after all those tests and all those spoon-fed answers, everyone was on their way to becoming a certified de-icer.
Would you fly in a plane that you had de-iced?
No.
I want you to put up 100% by each one of them except for Continental, okay? Air Canada, 100%. AirTran, 100%.
After 2 hours of learning, these tests, and a few hours of practical training, Service Air says this man is ready to de-ice your plane.
He said, good job, now you're ready, you're a certified de-icer.
Can there be any rational explanation for what's been going on in these classrooms?
No, sir. I can't think of any scenario where we should be given answers to a test.
We showed our findings to executives from Service Air.
Is it cheating?
Given, yes, it is.
No, the training here was clearly improper. The in-classroom training was clearly improper.
Improper and cutting corners in an industry with very little room for mistakes.
100% at the top, passing to the left.
And we found Service Air cutting corners elsewhere. The company is required to give de-icers 2 hours of driving training so they can safely drive the airfield. But after classroom training and with no driver training, Service Air sent our undercover producer to get his DIA badge, allowing him to drive near planes and restricted areas. The company had given him none of the required practical driving training. A Service Air administrator sends him to get his airport badge and driving endorsement with this advice.
So if they ask you if you did the driver training, yeah, you will do it when you do OJT.
She then fills out an official form for him saying the CBS-4 worker has received driver training. He had not. She signs the form. But look, she signs it as Eric Hansen, a driver trainer for Service Air. She doesn't look much like an Eric. Our producer never even met the real Eric Hansen. But armed with this document, DIA issued him this badge. He is now legal to drive around the airport. That's right, there's videotape of the federal coffee spill from 2 cameras. There's the suspected coffee spiller, Lucinda West, caught either accidentally spilling coffee or intentionally pouring it on an X-ray machine at the federal courthouse in Denver. Her lawyer could not believe federal authorities were pursuing the case.
I thought, you've got to be kidding.
But it was no joke. Whatever happened with Coffee Gate led to this, a federal charge of damaging federal property, probable cause statements, federal prosecutors, a possible $5,000 fine and 30-day prison term, a federal case over spilled coffee.
I think a case like this is a colossal waste of tax dollars.
Lucinda West, who's been a clerk in the courthouse for 22 years, was bringing her morning cup of Starbucks to work last June. She carried it through the magnetometers, but security officers said that wouldn't do. The Java had to go through the X-ray machine, something West did not want to do, believing those flappy things would brush the top of her coffee cup.
It's dirty and it's unsanitary, and that was her concern.
The guards say when they insisted the coffee pass through the X-ray machine, West poured it onto the machine, then slammed the coffee cup down on top of the machine, causing additional spillage and the machine to be taken out of service. And it earned her a federal rap.
Beyond silly.
From this angle, let's stop the tape. West can be seen with the offending cup of coffee and going in, but you can't tell if the spill was premeditated or an accident. Now from this other angle, the view is blocked, so you can't tell if she intentionally pours the coffee, but you can see her put it down on top of the machine. She does not appear to be slamming it down. But watch closely, she does sop up something from the machine.
The possible penalties do include a sentence of imprisonment and a monetary fine.
So she could go to prison or face a $5,000 fine for spilling coffee?
Possibly. It's very unfortunate that taxpayer dollars are being spent on something like this.
Hi there. My lawyer's Gregory Mitchell. Come here, come on. Now, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the police because you're in invasion of my privacy.
Standing here, you're the one who said let's go talk outside, Mr. Tuttle.
I'm calling my lawyer right now.
Okay, good. Let's get him on the phone. Let's do that.
All right. Leave me alone.
Sure, you're free to go, sir. Nobody's stopping you. I'm going to go get my coffee. I can continue the conversation.
Okay, you are violating my constitutional rights. I told you I have
How are we
Mr.
violating your
Mitchell as my lawyer.
Right.
Okay, talk to him. Okay?
Sure.
I am innocent.
Of what?
Okay? I don't like being accused of something I didn't do. All right? So knock it off and all that.
I'd like to run and get my coffee. Is that all right? Yeah. Are you good with that? I'm good. Are you good with that? I'm just going to run and get my coffee.
You want your coffee? I can't.
Yeah. Let me get it. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. I hope we haven't disrupted you guys at all.
No, we were just curious.
Oh, this guy is a scam artist.
Yeah, that's what we heard about sometimes.
Did you hear what when I was talking to him? You mean? He's a check bouncer. He says he comes here all the time. I know he meets women here all the time. He.
I think I read